Welcome to an episode of Exploding Pufferfish. Now, fuck, necklace is dropped. Today we're gonna be talking about the infamous, the wonderful, the horrifying, the people that we love will love forever. Skinwalkers. Now, reason we're talking about skinwalkers is because I've been in quite a spooky mood lately. I'm putting my necklace on my microphone if you're wondering what that noise is. Now I've been in quite a spooky mood lately. So, I decided, why not mix it up a little bit? And let's talk about the people we love the most, the people that can take on any shape and form, skinwalkers. And I gotta pull up a wiki for it. I gotta pull up the wiki for it. But so I got a kind of like a wiki thing pulled up and skinwalker. So we're gonna be talking about the infamous skinwalkers. God damn, my camera won't stab. Anyway, in the Navajo culture, skinwalker, don't know how to fucking say that, is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. Now, have y'all ever, let me know, have y'all ever had a encounter with a skinwalker? Now, me and my friends have. I don't know if it was actually a skinwalker or not, but we went through a big thing because of it. Now, me and my friend, this friend is he's awesome. All right. Now, at my old place, I used to hang out with him a lot. Now, he is a great friend of mine, and if I could see him again, I would love to. He was a great friend. I'm not going to say his name just for personal reasons, or private reasons, but I'll give him the name Nick. I'll give him the name Nick. Now, me and Nick, we were out exploring, right? I mean, I don't know where we were, but we were somewhere near his house. And there was a park there. And there was this abandoned house. Now, I love exploring, and he's my voice of reasoning. I'm a complete dumbass, but he's my voice of reasoning. I'm a complete dumbass. He's my voice of reasoning for a reason, because he's actually the smart one in my group of friends. Now, when I say smart one, he doesn't do the stupid things that we do. Anything that would get him hurt, he won't do. But anything that will get us in trouble, 100%, yeah, he'll do that. And sometimes I'll join him. Now, let me tell you a story. One time while we were at a park, we saw these people. And we saw these people doing, fucking. We saw them doing shit at the park. So he paid me $50 for for me to yell, "You're a whore," at them. And I went along with it because my dumbass decided, why the fuck not? It's $50 just to yell a goddamn word. The Skinwalker part isn't going to be long because I kind of want to talk about a couple of SCPs because I'm a big fan of those. I'm a fucking weirdo. Me and Nick, we are a big fan of the SCP Foundation, Skinwalkers. He knows a lot about that stuff. Now, maybe I can get him to give me a sec. Alright, so now I just messaged him. I don't know if he's going to agree, but yeah. Maybe he'll join. So if you go on the internet, there's a lot of SCP things about the SCP Foundation. I think there's even a website for SCPs. And I can see if I can pull it up. Yeah, this is the SCP Foundation. It is a classified, so basically it's just a website where people come up with, monsters that can basically break the rules of time. Now, I don't think the thing that people understand is that these things could possibly be real. Because now here's a little creepy fact that I think a bunch of you people are not going to believe. But your brain only... So when you dream about people that you don't know, but you've seen before. Now, when you have sleep paralysis, now that's you literally just dreaming. But you think that you're awake. Because but those things that you see don't come out of nowhere. You have to see them. Your mind has to see them to make it. Now, I've had sleep paralysis. Wasn't fun. I don't want to really get into it. Just because it was a little bit traumatizing. Because I was young at this age. I was very young. I was like, I don't remember. It was a while ago. But, I don't know. But sleep paralysis isn't a fun thing. Anybody who has had sleep paralysis, give me a story. Discord is down in this channel description. Go check it out. Give me your sleep. If you guys did have sleep paralysis, give me your best sleep paralysis story. Give me your sleep paralysis story. If you feel like it. Now, now, I don't really know what. So, if I could tell you anything, it would be that SCPs could possibly be real. Like, SCP, I think 06 something. I think it was SCP 096. Yes, it is. Now, here's the thing. The reason why I say these things could be real is because people have live photos of these, but it could definitely be something made up. I have looked at photos of this man many times, and he's a fast human. He's a lot faster than the Flash. Now, the reason I bring that up is because if you look at his face, he will come and kill you. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a photo or if it's... It doesn't matter if it's in real life or if it's a photo. He will always know. You could be on the moon and he'd find a way to come get you. That's how this SCP works. No matter where you are or how you got there, he will find a way to kill you. Funny thing is, he knows exactly who you are. There's no proper logic to his killings and his existence. He's a tall, gray man. If you look at his face, then he will hunt down and kill you. Now, let's talk about SCP-001. Now, I'm starting to looking at this. Alright, I have a video. I'm pulling up a video about SCP-1, the Gate Guardian. When day breaks. SCP explained when day breaks. It's an animation, but it's...
You've been walking for dripping with sweat from the heat of the sun bearing down overhead, and yet you're wrapped up in layers upon layers of clothing. Even your face is covered, and you're wearing thick black goggles so that not a single centimeter of your body is exposed. Your journey has been long, and you feel like you might die from exhaustion or from overheating due to these multiple layers of clothes. But dying is better than being exposed. You saw it happen when your entire team changed. The light cannot be trusted, not even for a fraction of a second. It's been like this for years. You've learned and survived through painful experience. Many of those you used to know cannot say the same. You've been alone for so long. You might have given up all hope if it wasn't for the distress signal coming from a nearby SCP Foundation containment facility, Site 46. Any kind of survivors would be better than nothing, no matter what kind of sorry shape they were in, as long as they were still human. You find your way to an opening in the side of a mountain and slide into the cave, hoping you weren't spotted. The whole world is crawling with those things now. You can't let yourself be seen. As you trudge down the cave towards the entrance, you see what looks like a huge black snail trail splattered on the ground, leading into the facility. You try to avoid it and press on. You don't even need a key card to enter. The door has been left ajar. The facility reeks of those things, but you can't see any of them. You just hope they've moved on and left some human survivors in their wake. The place looks abandoned. Every step you take echoes through the empty halls. When you find that the elevator's out, you take the stairs all the way down to level B5, Keter Containment. Lucky for you, it seems all the cells are empty now. The horrors that were kept inside of them have all long since flown the coop. You keep following that slimy black trail until you find an abandoned office. There are no people here anymore. Just a broken barricade, some empty medicine bottles, and a bucket that the people inside the office had apparently been using as a toilet. You breathe a sigh of disappointment at finding no one alive here, but you're at least relieved to be out of the sun. You can finally remove your jacket and head wrap. With your uncovered eyes, you notice that a nearby computer terminal is still powered up. You sit down at the desk and turn on the monitor. Because of the emergency procedures put into place in a K-class scenario like this.
This explains nothing. So those humanoid creatures, are basically a bunch of human bodies piled up together, morphed together, creating this. So the sun turns you into this thing, right? It turns you into this thing. I don't know what what the thing is, but it's a thing.
Safeguards no longer apply. You can access all the information you need, up to and including finding out what actually happened. In the dull glow of a nearby emergency light, you see a dark shape slumping through the halls in shadow. You tense up, then exhale as it slithers off into an adjoining hall. You're safe, for now. The terminal has finally loaded and authenticated your access. You're staring at the file for SD Lock's proposal for SCP-001 when day breaks. It's the only name you can give the apocalypse your world is currently experiencing. This is one of the only anomalies in the entire history of the SCP Foundation to be given the Apollyon Containment class, meaning containment is truly impossible. SCP-001 is the most dangerous enemy that the Foundation and planet Earth has ever faced. It's always been the principle of the SCP Foundation to battle in the dark so that the civilian world can thrive in the light. But now the light has become the enemy. Anyone exposed to any amount of sunlight for even the briefest period of time is subjected to the effects of SCP-001, and those effects are beyond horrifying. The SCP Foundation administrator released an urgent memo telling Foundation personnel to make their way to Site-19 at all costs, because they need all the help they can get. Those exposed to SCP-001 in the process are no longer considered human. Their new designation is SCP-001-A. These new entities are to be avoided at all costs. But in case of emergencies, the administrator says it is permitted to cut off parts of your transformed comrades and eat them to avoid starvation. No attempt should be made to kill them, since you won't succeed. You'll just put yourself at risk. When the sun changed and became SCP-001, it instantly affected 6.8 billion innocent people. The second the visible light touched them, whether it was from the sun itself or even reflected off the moon, their bodies liquefied, melting like candle wax into puddles of living gelatinous slime. This effect isn't isolated to humans either. Any biological entity exposed to sunlight immediately underwent the same irreversible melting process into SCP-001-A, and the horror had only...
So you become this like candle wax type thing. You become this candle wax type thing. Which sounds kinda... This is quite interesting because this is exactly what I thought it would be. Because since it's the first like actual SCP. Now, how much this affects people is probably the horrifying thing. How much this affects people is the part where... It's funny how I went from skinwalkers to SCPs, because I know more about SCPs than skinwalkers. Now, SCPs break the laws of time. They break the law. They break time itself. Now, SCP-001, when day breaks, is like an apocalypse type thing. No matter if you have a little touch of sunlight, you become this zombie-like, melted-like creature thing. And it probably wouldn't be good to be attacked by one either. It definitely wouldn't. And yeah, it's exactly what I thought it would be. 100%. I mean, I'm not just saying that, I promise. But seriously, it's what I thought it was. Now, when I talk about SCPs, I think of... When I hear SCP, I think of monsters. Like SCPs are. But what I mean by monsters is multiple of them. So hear me out. What if SCPs are like multiply? And what if two of them get out? They can't find it and they start breeding into more dangerous creatures. So now imagine this. SCPs can be anything. A living thing, a living entity, an entity, or just a physical object. But they're always alive. Now, what I mean by they're always alive is that they always have just a little bit of soul. They always have this little bit of soul that goes through their body. Now, an SCP has to start from something, right? So an SCP could start from a human, an SCP could start from a bunny. An SCP could start from something has to start from something. It always starts as bacteria or cells or atoms. It slowly evolves into its peak form. Now, I don't remember what any of the SCPs are called, but but you guys know the Plague Doctor, the Wendigo, all of that. Long Horse. Now, Siren Head is apparently an SCP. I didn't know that. Was an SCP. Now, here's one thing that here's one thing. SCPs are, again, they always start from something. This is getting really confusing even for me. I hope y'all know that. There's this SCP that it's a big crystal. If the crystal dies, then it breaks off a piece. And then makes another little crystal. If you touch this crystal, then you shall be crystallized yourself. Now here's the scary part about that. This crystal, no matter, you can touch it any way. You can touch the littlest piece of it. You shall be crystallized like that. There could be a little shard of it on the ground. You could step on it. Crystallized. Now, it only affects living things. Plants. Trees. But here's I think there's the flaw in that. You could wear shoes because it won't affect shoes. But here's also a flaw in that. If it could crystallize anything, it would have crystallized the earth. Now, this doesn't go back to, this just kind of ruins my point that SCPs could be real. This just proves a point that SCPs aren't. But everybody knows that. They're just an entity made by someone. But someone had to see one to think of it, right? Who thought of SCP? Who thought of the name Secure, Contain, Protect? Who thought of SCP-096? Who thought of SCP-001? Someone who has seen it. Or has seen it work. Or seen its effects happen. If it's in a dream, or if it's in a movie, or if it's in something like anything. A video, a show, a movie. But you get an idea from something. It doesn't have to be. Get the design. Now the design you have to see. Your brain won't come up with a design if you have not seen that before. What I mean by that is artists, they come up with a photo, they come up with a painting that they've seen before. Bob Ross, when he's painting happy little clouds, he's seen happy little clouds. When he's painting a mountain, he's seen a mountain. Now, all my ideas come from dreams or TV shows, like every normal human being, right? Like every normal human being, that comes from something. again, if it's from a show, a video, a TikTok, an Instagram post, to someone telling you to on Omegle, or to a TV show, or into real life, it always comes from something. Now let's get back into this video because I've been talking for too long.
Just begun. People transformed into SCP-001A will remain shades of their former intelligence and personality. They may even try to will their new gooey mass into a shape resembling their original form.
Okay, that part I missed. It actually isn't like a zombie type thing.
However, these individuals will lose their sense of self if they come into contact with other instances of SCP-001-A. When they come
Okay, so I was kind of right. It's kind of like a zombie thing.
together, 001-A instances will bond on a molecular level, wading up into horrific giant blobs with only one purpose: integrating more matter into their bodies. That's why they have to be avoided at all costs. You continue to search the computer terminal for answers. Perhaps there was some kind of contingency plan put in place for this. Some way to reverse the effects. Or at least escape the nightmare Earth has become. Instead, you find a series of attachments linked to the SCP-001 file, detailing what seems to be the last days of the people who barricaded themselves in the facility. Most prominent among these were researcher Dr. Logan Igata, her partner Ari, a security officer named Commander Anad, and a few others. Dr. Igata had locked herself in the office, where she recorded her final messages to the world. In the first audio log, Dr. Igata and her companions seemed afraid, but hopeful that there may be some way out of this situation. Dr. Igata reported that most of the workers at the facility were transformed during the initial event. Their melted bodies had fused outside the facility, and now they were trying to bust their way back in. The defenses had held so far, though, and they seemed confident they would hold long enough for them to figure out a way to escape this awful situation. You open the second attachment, an incident report, and realize things may not have been as hopeful as Dr. Igata let on. She reported hearing the huge mass of melted creatures hammering on the door outside again, begging for them to come out and experience the sun with them. They wanted desperately to add to their ever-growing biomass, in order to experiment with what exactly would happen.
Okay, so she tried to make things sound hopeful, but there was a big mass of these humanoid melting fucked up creatures. Oh, fuck, I gotta change the name to this episode. Never mind, I'll keep it as Skinwalkers. I'll talk more about Skinwalkers later, maybe. Just maybe. Now, a famous one, I think my favorite, in the SCP Foundation is probably the Wendigo. I don't now I may be wrong that the Wendigo is part of the SCP Foundation. So yes, it is an SCP. SCP-6171, which but so basically it's creature that hunts at night. Basically, have you ever heard the rumor, "Don't whistle at night, or you'll attract the Wendigo"? So, if you guys don't know, let me explain what you do if you encounter a Wendigo. If you encounter a Wendigo, don't, like, run away. Just stand tall and just stare at it. Don't take your eyes off of it. Whatever you do, do not approach it, especially if it's near, like, a recent kill. Don't take your eyes off it or run. And if it displays aggression, yell, wave your arms, and throw rocks. Now, I think that's kind of stupid because this bitch isn't a bear. This bitch isn't a bear. Really, it isn't a bear. Like, fuck. I mean, no, I've never had an encounter with a bear. I've seen a bear, but never encountered one. I was in the woods when I saw it, but never tried to attack me. I was kind of far away. But this isn't a fucking bear, and I don't think that's actually gonna fucking work. Now, I may be wrong. The Wendigo may act like a bear, just more of a mythical creature kind of way. Now let's get back to SCP-001. I know I'm not talking a lot during this, only because I'm quite interested. This isn't like one of my normal videos where I'm making fun of someone or talking shit. I'm actually quite interested because I'm quite a big fan of the SCP Foundation myself. And yeah.
They sent out one of their few remaining D-classes wearing a full protective suit. He didn't last long. The huge creature grabbed him with tentacles made of reconstituted flesh. It began ripping off his protective suit as he screamed for mercy. It was a monster made of dozens of people and animals. He could never overpower it. The second the sun touched his skin, he melted away and was absorbed by the great mass holding him in place.
Now this is an ad about Magic the Gathering.
Guns were ineffective against these SCP-001-A super entities. Fire would do no good. It seemed that extremely low temperatures were the only way to slow the immense blobs down. And even then, not permanently. There was one ray of light in the darkness. The site director had a secret tunnel underneath his office, connected to a tram that could hopefully take them directly to Site-19 without risk of SCP-001 exposure. It was a good plan, and by far the best option they had available to them. But the best plans often don't work in practice. You open the next detachment on the terminal. This time, it's a video feed. You can actually see Dr. Logan Igata, and she looks harrowed by what she's experienced. As it turns out, while the others, including her partner Ari, attempted to escape through the tunnel, something had happened. Dr. Igata heard Ari's voice over her radio, but there was something wrong with it. It was too low, too guttural, and filled with gurgles. SCP-001 had gotten her. She was changed. The monster from above had crawled in through the ceiling. It had taken them, all of them, and converted them into something less than human. Any hope of escape now seemed gone. Ari told Dr. Igata that it would be fine, that it was such a bright, beautiful, sunny day outside, and she was wasting it locked up inside that office. She tormented Dr. Igata with their shared memories of picnics in the park on sunny days in the past. The monster with Ari's voice did everything it could to try to convince Dr. Igata to give up and join them, but she wasn't ready to go just yet. You look away from the screen when you hear a sound in the corner. You see a dark puddle of some unknown substance, and then some skeletal hands rising out of it. The hands are pulling themselves out of the puddle, followed by a skeletal face covered in matted hair. You have to stop yourself from screaming, until a flash from a nearby security light makes the figure disappear. It's a normal puddle, once again. Your mind is playing tricks on you. You open the next attachment, another video, and see that Dr. Igata's condition has deteriorated. She looked pale, frantic, and thin. She was using a knife to draw her own blood onto a piece of blood-stained parchment covered in strange symbols. Igata ranted about her theory. What if 001 took the minds and bodies of its victims, but not their souls? Through performing some kind of arcane blood ritual, she hoped to at least rescue and keep the soul of Ari, even if her mind and body were lost. You open the next attachment. It seemed that Agata's ritual worked, but not in the way she hoped. The twisted soul of Ari, driven mad by SCP-001, had taken over the file. It begins corrupting the text of the SCP-001 file into crazy ranting about how futile it is to fight. It then cuts to an even more frightening video feed. Dr. Igata, in her sleep, tossing and turning in a makeshift bed in the corner of her office. The camera approaches her, in first person, and lingers over her sleeping body. An oily skeletal hand reaches past the camera and runs its fingers through Dr. Igata's hair. It's that exact same hand you saw reaching out of that black puddle earlier. You must have seen Ari's lingering spirit. With a lump in your throat, you open the next attachment and what?
The lump in your throat's called an Adam's apple. Hope y'all know that. And you're not as retarded as this man. No offense, really. Genuinely serious, no offense, but that's just called an Adam. That's just an Adam's apple. It's really not that. Not that. Like, bruh.
Watch the video. You see Dr. Igata, now truly broken. She's been haunted by Ari's demonic spirit for a long time now, and it has clearly taken its toll. She is waving around a handgun while she speaks. She now believes there's only one way to escape, but not like this. She doesn't want the gun to draw attention to her body. She doesn't want to become part of that mess, even if she is dead. She opens a drawer on her desk she's recording at and places the gun inside. Dr. Igata then apologizes to her loved ones who are likely long since dead or assimilated and turns off the recording for the last time. In that moment, you realize there's a single drawer in the desk in front of you. When you reach forward and open it, you see the same handgun Dr. Igata was holding is laying inside. You pick it up and study it, weighing your options. Perhaps there truly is no other way out. Then you see an update on the file. One more attachment has been added while you were studying the gun. You feel your heart pounding in your chest as you reach forward and open the attachment. The text has been changed entirely. The file on SCP-001 is now a poem, an ode to the sun, and to ultimate togetherness. Then a video file spontaneously opens itself on the screen. It's a video of you, shot from behind. You see those oily skeletal hands reaching for you in the dark, just like they did with Dr. Igata. In that moment, you panic and fire the gun behind you, hoping to scare off the spirit. Instead, the sound of the gunshots attracts something far worse. The immense blob of screaming, melted flesh charges towards the office. You try to barricade the door, but it is not enough. The flesh seeps and bursts through and grabs you in its meaty tentacles. You scream and try to escape, but it won't save you. Nothing will save you. The flesh carries you upstairs, out through the empty halls, out into the cave. You can see the light in the distance as the blob ferries you towards it. You won't be alone for much longer. In fact, you won't be alone ever again. Now check out SCP-001, the Scarlet King, and
Alright, let's check it out. Let's check out the Scarlet King. Now, this is just a toilet paper ad.
The SCP Foundation is no stranger to pure evil. Whether it's a reptile that wants to end all life, a sadistic old man with his own torture dimension, or the personification of death itself lurking beyond a limestone cavern. But what if there was something even worse out there? The embodiment of chaos and cruelty, existing across multiple realities and dimensions. And what if it was coming for us? This is the Scarlet King, believed by many to be the ultimate evil behind much of the trouble the Foundation has faced, and some even speculate that fighting him was the reason the Foundation was created in the first place. But what exactly is the Scarlet King?
Well, I have no fucking clue.
Names, almost always including some allusion to the color red, and then a reference to royalty or power, harak, kaharak, the Red Shah, the Crimson Khan, PTE 616 Mendez Ex Machina, the Laha Raja, and, of course, SCP-001, to name a few. And like many of the Foundation's mysterious enemies, stories about his true nature and origins abound and are often contradictory. According to the official SCP-001 files of Tufto's proposal, symbology of the Scarlet King has existed in multiple cultures throughout history, with the king often depicted the same way, as a huge, red, demonic figure, often wearing a gold crown or other headdress indicating royalty. He shows up looking similarly within different cultures' mythologies, despite existing at different points in history, or them not having the means to communicate with one another. A number of entities that the SCP Foundation is familiar with are believed to be somehow connected to the Scarlet King, including SCP-2317, a wooden door leading to the realm of a being known as the Devourer, who is expected to escape and cause an apocalyptic event in the next 30 years. But really, there's no way of knowing just how many SCPs are directly connected to the Scarlet King. Strangely, the Foundation's official file on the Scarlet King once designated his containment class as Keter, but that has since been downgraded to Safe. According to the file, any attempt to change this designation is likely to lead to horrifying results. It is widely known that the Scarlet King still has considerable influence over a number of groups, individuals, and anomalies in our universe. And if ever he made his way into our universe, it would likely lead to the irreversible damage of reality itself. So then why Safe? And why are the O5 Council so adamant that it remained that way? Getting to the bottom of this mystery is exactly why we're here today. But to fully grasp the true nature of the Scarlet King, we must first understand the man whose life and fate have always been tied to it, Dr. Robert Montauk. If that name feels oddly familiar to you, it's because of its association with one of the Scarlet King's most recent attempts to enter our reality, SCP-231. This SCP, often referred to as...
Okay, pause right there. I am so sorry, guys, but I have shit to do. I know you guys don't actually care, but please like, subscribe, go check out my Discord in the bio. Maybe leave me a couple of stories that you feel like that I should share during the next episode. And I'll catch you guys later. I gotta go. We'll do a second part of this on the next episode. Now, please like, subscribe, and maybe write a little comment. And as usual, see you guys next time, and see you guys when I'm cooking.